of course, to the SYN Shop podcast. I am, of course, the Mighty Pong.
My name is Zenify.
And on tonight's show, we've got something special for you. We got something a little different for you tonight. Now, of course, you guys all know that we are makers. Even when we play video games, we're makers. We're making stuff all the time. But how close are, one of my favorite genres of maker games is the manufacturing, builder games. How close is that to actual manufacturing? And if they're not, what if they were? So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to look at 3 different games that involve building things, and we're going to see how they compare to the real world with our guest, Philip, the VP of Manufacturing at Willert Home Products. Now, before we go there, though, I do need to make a quick announcement, and this week, you even have sound. It's amazing. So, announcement on the shop. We are, of course, located at 1075 American Pacific Drive, Suite C in fabulous Henderson, Nevada. Now, unless you are a member, you're unfortunately going to have to wait a little bit to come check out the shop. Synshop is currently closed to the public, but we would like to remind you that while we are closed to the public, if you're in a shared space elsewhere, make sure that you wear a mask and clean tools, surfaces, and material before and after you use them. Make sure you stay home as much as possible, don't touch your face, and for Pete's sake, wash your hands. Now, to stay updated on the shop's open status, you can check out synshop.org/COVID status to find out the latest information. And to make sure that you're notified of our future events, including virtual ones just like this, you can join us at meetup.com/Synshop. And also, before we get going here, I do want to recognize, number one, oh my God, it's Jackie222 has followed us. Thank you so much for the follow, Jackie222. Yeah, that's it. And thank you very much for that. We definitely appreciate it. Also, we got things coming up all over the place. Satisfactory. He just resubscribed. Thank you so much. And also, we've got our own fearless leader, Crux. I'm still waiting for my Prime subscription to become available. But at any rate, let's bring in our guest. Here we go. Again, Philip from Willert Home Products. Thank you so much for joining us. I got the name right?
Oh, thanks for having me.
Excellent. So just a quick little note about your company. Now, my understanding is this little random trivia here. My understanding is that you are the reason that when I flush the toilet and it has been cleaned, it is the color blue.
Well, we've been using blue, and the Germans invented the blue tablet way back in the 50s, maybe earlier. That's just in the color of the ocean, color of the sky. It doesn't color.
Right.
But yeah, our company makes a lot of blue in-tank toiletable cleaners.
That's awesome. That's very cool. So we're gonna get in a little bit more into the company itself here later on as we move forward. But how long have you been with the company?
20 years.
That's amazing. Yeah. I was with somewhere, at my last place, I was there for, I think, 5 years. And being somewhere for 20 years is such a rarity nowadays, Like,
right.
Yeah.
I think I might be going on, I'm either going on 2 years at my current company or 3 years. If it's 3 years, then that's the longest company I've been at so far.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So let's see. I'm getting some feedback here. How's everything sounding on your end? Is everything good?
I think everything. I mean, I'm thinking everything sounds fun.
All
Good
right.
here.
All right. Excellent. All right. We'll move forward then. Okay. So a little bit about the premise of this here. So recently, for reasons that I'm sure you are all aware of, I found myself with a lot of free time lately. And I've started playing a lot of games, of course. And although I used to gravitate towards FPSs for a while, it's probably going to go choppy here and there as I'm switching scenes. So that I'm not surprised. I got all kinds of videos loaded up, so not a problem. At any rate, I used to gravitate towards FPS games, but currently I've been on a bit of a factory game kick. Mainly the game Satisfactory, which we'll go to first, but also others as well. So there were a few things that I started noticing in different games, and I started wondering how they compared to actual manufacturing. So I kind of was, rolling around in my head, and I kind of decided that I need to find someone that knew about manufacturing in real life who could possibly bridge the gap between games and the real world and explain, whether these are real world concepts or just something that's just kind of a plot device. So.
Mm-hmm.
So again, thank you so much, Philip, for joining us on this adventure. It's going to be different from just about any other interview you'll probably ever have. So,
All right.
awesome. Okay, so the first one is Satisfactory. Now, I'm just going to let this roll in the background here, but the basic mechanic is this. It's a building game where you just basically go to a planet and you extract resources from it and you make products from it in order to send back to your home base, right? That's basically the idea. You're basically sent down with little more than a shed, and you construct things that mine, refine, shape, and assemble different parts. Now, one of the mechanics in the game is called the Awesome Sync. It's an acronym. It's long and ridiculous. They really wanted to fit an acronym into awesome, but this is what it is. It's basically a grinder that grinds up parts. So here's the thing. It basically functions as a place to throw things away in bulk. So the way I typically play the game is I'll create a large number of components that I might need, and then if storage is full, they go right here into the trash. So what I wanted to ask you is there a real world parallel to that? Can you think of a situation where waste is used actually as part of the process, right? Like, just to give you an example, like if you have the powder mix for your product already, are there situations where it's literally cheaper to throw that away rather than to move it to another hopper to reset a machine or something like that?
Right. Well, in our industry, it's all recyclable, so we really don't throw anything away. We can always adjust it to where it gets back into spec. And we had a Japanese customer that was very, very particular about all its specifications. And we had a product where half was white, half was blue. And if there was a blue dot on that white, we had to discard it for them. They wouldn't sell it.
Wow.
So we kept that, we reground it, and we used it in other products. So that is definitely done.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense. And that is something that do you notice that a lot? I know this is kind of a sidebar here. Do you notice that a lot with people from this place versus people from another place where they might be a little bit more specific, a little bit more discerning, maybe, as far as the quality?
Well, yeah, absolutely. In the pharmaceutical, there is no margin of error, zero.
Sure.
From everything from the corrugated to the carton, obviously to the product.
Right.
But in the corrugated industry, which pretty much everybody puts their product in a box, all that paperboard is recycled. It's not thrown in the dump.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
It's all money. Even in our business, you recycle it to try and get reclaim as much money as you can on the product.
Yeah. See, I was talking to a gentleman last weekend who on the last show that does 3D printing actual buildings, like full-size buildings, with a 3D printer that lays down layers of concrete instead of building it with traditional cinder block material. And we were kind of talking about that a little bit back and forth about how it used to be one would be environmentally friendly because they wanted to save the planet or whatever you got, right? But now it's at a point where it's actually cheaper to reuse what you have rather than throw it away. Do you find that to be the case?
Oh, absolutely. All the ingredients, no matter what industry you're in, cost money. So you try and, like I said, recycle that as much as you can, so you're not throwing away your money.
Yeah.
A lot of big companies are owned by shareholders, and they wouldn't want to see, their 401k investment go down because somebody just wasn't watching that.
Or because somebody was lazy.
So that's important.
Or because someone was lazy, it was just like, yeah, I'll just throw it in the dumpster, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So there are some situations to where if we're packaging in a product that goes into a carton, if that carton is not glued right, you can't reuse that carton. So in some parts of it, it is thrown away because it's been mangled so much, you just cannot resell that. So a lot of that part does get thrown out. But the paper is 100% recyclable, so it goes into a recycle bin. Republic, who they're out here as well, they pick it up twice a week, send to the recycler.
That's amazing. I wonder, let's see, there was the...
I have a question about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a specific component to the packaging that deems it like that? Like, I imagine it's already printed with like maybe a decal on it, or is it because the glue or something didn't set right, that it's never gonna set right again? Like, what's the
Right.
purpose?
So, every carton, they've got the customer's brand name or Willert's brand name on there. It's pre-printed. It's already pretty much folded, except for the ends are open where you stick the product in. But if it does not go through the machine right, it'll fold it wrong, and the glue will cockeye the flaps, and then you have to tear it apart to regain the product because you can reuse that. But the carton has been destroyed, so you have to throw that away.
Okay, that makes more sense. All right.
Something I've always been curious about is what do you do when you have a misprint on your labels? Is it better to throw out the product as opposed to moving the contents to new bottles?
So if it's a misprint on the label, most everything is in a carton nowadays, at least at our company. And if it's a misprint on the carton, those will go back to the supplier and they'll somehow grind it and recycle it. Corrugated is easy. They take that back too and they grind it and they recycle it, put it back in the paperboard.
Okay.
So a company like Walmart has a huge sustainability program to where all vendors, that want to sell into Walmart, they have to show that they're using recyclable material and things of that sort, so that they know that their sustainability from product life to product death is carefully watched.
Oh, okay. I remember that even back, how long ago was that? That was like 15, 20 years ago. I used to do data installations in Walmarts, and they were serious about making sure that that corrugated cardboard got into the box crusher. Like,
right.
I in several stores coast to coast, I saw people getting yelled at for that.
But you take like TVs, you flat screen TVs now. If it burns out, what do you do with it? You throw it away, and that typically goes to the landfill.
Right.
And that's not good. So that somehow has to be more sustainable in a recycled environment. And recycling, depending on the industry and what you're actually recycling, that costs. So you have to factor that in as well.
Yeah. So earlier this week, I talked to somebody from that was from Europe, and I was kind of telling him about the show and all that. He has what would the term be? Like, he's a structural engineer. That's what it was. He's a structural engineer, and he just a guy that also plays the same games I like to play. And he was on my channel, and it looks like the video is messing us up here. We'll just go back to this. And so at any rate, he told me that one thing that he sees a lot of in the U.S., in the States, is that the older machines that we used to use were never really built for efficiency. And so when manufacturers, continue to use older equipment, there's typically more waste in general. Has that been the same effect that you've seen?
Sure. A lot of our presses, I'd say, let's see, we got 12 presses. They were probably built in the 50s. So they're only built really with one speed. And as the product's getting pressed out through this process, if it's not pressed out right or it's not wrapped right, then that kind of goes to waste. Some of the product can be reused. We break it down. But on one of our hanging toilet bowl cleaners, there's a wire that can get recycled, and the plastic paper can get recycled. And then we break down the para, and that gets recycled. So once again, in our industry, there's minimal waste. Yeah.
When you do that, do you have a machine that takes care of breaking those down into the different components, or is it like, hey, Bob, sorry, it's your day on disassembly? Or
all the operators of each one of the presses, it's their responsibility that they have bad work. They have a plastic hammer, and the product itself, it's pretty easy. You hit a couple times the hammer, it just shatters. And so they separate those components, put the parrot in a drum, it goes up, it gets reground again, and then reprocessed through the other presses.
That is amazing. I mean, one thing's for sure, that there's even though you're not throwing away a lot of stuff, there's probably no roaches in your dumpster in back.
Right. Believe it or not, Willert is the largest manufacturer of mothballs in the world.
Oh, is that right?
It is.
Go ahead and show this. We'll come back to the map later, but just to show the website there.
Yeah. So each one of our ball presses does about 60,000 balls a shift. And so we run sometimes 3 shifts. So we have 2 sides and 3 presses. Or 3 presses, each have 2 sides.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically take that output, and we go through probably 100,000 pounds a day to make mothballs.
Wow.
Just to make mothballs. And the other product that does what we call toilet bowl deodorizers that hang on your toilet or your garbage can.
Yeah.
Those are all different.
I'm sorry?
Those are a bit different. So, getting the press, wrapping it, hanging it. A typical press will do about 12,000 units a shift.
Wow. So when you say
It's a lot.
12,000 units, that's 12,000 mothballs.
That would be 12,000 hanging bowl deodorizers. It's on one of the pages you can scroll through.
Oh, I don't have it up to where I can scroll through. I just have the intro page there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, we do about 99,000 pounds. Typically, a mothball weighs 4 grams.
Mm-hmm.
So, I forget what the math on that is, but
wow. Here, in fact, let's see. If you want, Zen, if you want to throw the link up in the Oh, so actually, we got a couple things in the chat here. Let's see. First of all, Jetman is a big fan of Satisfactory. Excellent. So am I. And you can catch my. Oh, sorry. Hold on. I can fix that for you. How are you not already a VIP? How did that happen? What's going on with that? Let's see. I just need to do this. Sorry, and the show grinds to the part. Grinds to a halt. Crux 702 says Crux 702. Like he's not the guy that normally co-hosts the show. There's a bit of waste with pick and place machines to make circuit boards, i.e., when initially loading or misplaced components. That does sound like I could see that being a problem. I know it's hard enough for me to do it, and not a machine. Let's see, VIP, I believe, right?
we have a couple machines that are robotic, and they do a great job. They keep up with the workload.
Yeah.
Don't call in sick, and accurately place the product and get what we call the OEE, operational efficiency, high. And every employer who's making something wants that to be a high percentage.
Absolutely. How do you draw the line? Oh, let me. Sorry, I keep forgetting to throw the link in the chat there. If anybody wants to check out the link, how do you draw the line? That's an interesting thing I hadn't thought of when I was putting together the show notes for some reason. How do you draw the line between I can do this faster with a person or with a machine versus I can do this faster with I can do this faster with a machine versus I can do this better and more consistently, most likely with a person, or a person will have a certain eye for it. Like, where do you make that distinction between person and machine?
Well, those positions that are mundane, that would because our company is very big on ergonomics, so we don't want them doing the same thing 50,000 times a day. Mm-hmm. We'll put a robot there. Yeah. Because that eliminates, if there's any workers' comp situation, cost the company money. Yeah. Don't worry about that. So robots are in place where we want to get the speed and we want to get the accuracy, and a person just can't keep up with that. Mm-hmm. Recently we just put in, as a matter of fact, last week I bought a machine out of Germany. It used to be called Bosch, now it's called Synagon, and it's a case packer. So it takes our cartons and it just folds them into a case. It does 11 per minute, which doesn't sound fast, but it actually is, because the cartoner is doing 110 pieces a minute. Oh. So the case packer does, divide that by 10 because you pack 10. But we had 5 people on each shift doing that. And the problem was that they would miss putting 10 in a box. Mm-hmm. We get a lot with 9. That would get check weighed at the end of the line, and we find out that we have 9. So we got to tear open that corrugated. We can send it back in our recycle pile, but the fact that now we got to tear it down, send the good stuff back to the front of the line, reprocess that. Yeah. So machines usually don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that with at least like speed for like cartons and stuff. Like when Pong said the like human versus a robot, the thing that comes to my head is I watched a video where the CEO of United Launch Alliance, Tori Bruno, who makes rockets for launch into space, like the Atlas V, Delta IV, rockets, all those. There's a specific part in this rock in the factory where where Destin from Smarter Every Day, he asks, why do you have people here, at this specific spot? And he said, because we've never been able to get a computer to do as fine of a job than humans. And it's like, we've tried it and it just never works out. And I mean, when you're building freaking rockets and you got to make sure stuff is very precise. Yeah, I can understand why you have, engineers there or just people on the line.
So we have robotics that have vision systems on there to make sure the product's oriented so it goes in the package right away. And if the lens gets out of focus or something like that, the package gets misoriented. And then if the robot doesn't pick it up right, it can actually crush the box. And so therefore, you got another damaged product. You got to send the good stuff back to the front of the line and tear down the shipping container. So yeah, vision systems do have the limitations, and pharmaceuticals use that a lot as well. But yeah, it's the brain. You can't match the brain.
Right. Yeah, and so like I was kind of wondering that. Like I know with Tesla, they had a big back and forth with I think Elon Musk versus some other car manufacturing company. I'm sure Chad will let me know here shortly, but it was some other manufacturing company about they were using LiDAR and he was just using plain just video cameras in the Teslas for the autopilot. And so on these systems, is it using video? Is it using some kind of LiDAR? Is it relying on QR codes? How does it know positionally where a thing is in real space?
Right. So the programmers, they'll take the vision system and there's software that goes along with that, and they will map where the product should be. So typically it'll go pass over a belt that has a light underneath it, and that image will just create a shadow. And so the vision system will know, is it oriented correctly? And if it's not, how much can I turn it to put into the package?
Yeah.
And then that can get adjusted through many, various different ways.
And that's based off shadows. So in other words,
shining a light vision through it, and it says, okay, instead of trying to think about it as a box, all you have to think about it is as a rectangle. How is the rectangle oriented? Is it like this or like this? Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
And the software knows how much to turn it to put in the box correctly.
Oh, that's clever.
And that's all done through software, vision software.
Because you can assume that it's going to be flat. Obviously, the box isn't going to be sitting there on one corner. You can just assume that. So as long as you know which way it's oriented, left, right, or however, on the belt, you're pretty much golden. Akeen in chat says every other manufacturer is using LiDAR. Okay, great. So everybody that's doing auto drive type of stuff, autopilot stuff in cars. Let's see. Circuit boards will use fiducial markers. Fiducial makers? I'm guessing that should be fiducial. I'm not sure what fiducial makers are. Okay, fiducial markers.
I still don't know.
Yeah.
Never heard that before.
Yeah.
And then Akeen had said, did you say Akeen's thing?
About every other manufacturer using LiDAR? Yeah. Some are apparently using millimeter wave mapping. There you go. Yeah, no, it's a crazy world. And it's a symbol on the board that they can locate via camera. Ah, okay.
Yeah, I see what this is. Yeah, so I know exactly. They're on circuit boards and everything. Yeah, I guess any PCB board like that. I see them on motherboards all the time.
Okay.
Well, packaging as well. I mean, a different symbol so that they know the orientation, and that if they're doing a multicolored print on something, even if it's circuit board or carton, doesn't matter. So they can match up that. It's usually just a crosshair with a circle.
Yeah.
So if you have colors, they can match it all up to that crosshair, and you can individually adjust each plate so that they all line up exactly. And so you get almost a photographic print.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, I just never heard them called fiducial markers. I always
I know.
thought
Yeah, I never knew.
yeah, I always thought fiducial had to do with like, fiducial responsibility, like don't go blowing your money or whatever. I thought it was,
Mhm.
learn something new every day. Yeah, so like Akeen says here, like a registration mark for printing. So yeah.
Right.
Well, one thing that you can't print, that was a terrible, terrible segue, is this fine segment here, and we are of course talking here with the VP of Manufacturing, Philip from VP of Manufacturing from Willert Home Products.
Right.
There we go. My brain actually beat my scrolling finger, so that's a good thing. But we are, of course, broadcasting from, well, not from the SYN Shop, but for the SYN Shop. If you'd like to find out more information about the shop, you can head on over to synshop.org for more information about the shop. And if you'd like more information on virtual meetups that we have coming up, including any meetups that we have coming up, including virtual ones, just like this one, you can head over to meetup.com/Synshop. And, oh, you know what? I should have led with this. One thing you can't print yourself is these shirts right here. But fortunately for you, you can. All you have to do is type !merch in the chat, just like this, and you can find out exactly where you yourself can get a shirt just like this one, or have the official Synshop logo on it, or have other different things on there. You can get a ginormous mouse pad, which I highly, highly recommend. You can see it in use every Monday night on our project stream. Speaking of Monday nights on our project stream, this coming Monday night, we have a project stream, and we're going to be working on other projects. I'm not sure what Crux has cooking. Mine is probably going to be drum machine related. We might start tearing into the TR-909, the Big Daddy. So we'll see. We'll see if we're going to tackle the Big Daddy and make him talk again. We'll see. I have a TR-909 drum machine that's been out of commission for about 13 years, somewhere around there. I want to bring it back to life. And I think we can. We got the tools, we got the team, we got the talent. I should also mention that Synshop is going to be moving soon and needs help doing so, according to Crux in the chat, and that one can donate to synshop.org or buy all of the above merchandise or become a member, because every single thing helps. Well, I'm not going to do that. Do I have the drum machine? I have the drum machine. Of course I do. How am I going to fix the drum machine without the drum machine? But yeah, so let's see. I think. One more thing in the post game today. Unfortunately, Philip is going to be heading off because it's late where he's at. But after the show, stick around, everybody else, for the post game. We're going to be having Zenify is going to be coming back to us, and returning champion Thomas Tusano is going to join with us. He's going to talk about a little bit about manufacturing from a slightly different angle. So we'll be talking with him in a little bit. And I think, and of course, everybody like, subscribe, ring bells, do the things, follow, etc., etc. So do all that stuff. Check out our website. Let's get back to the stuff. Here we go. I really need to put together a script for that. Ad-libbing it, man.
I also wanted to mention that
Yes, sir.
Zen's twin sister works at the company as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh, is that right? You have a twin sister.
Yeah, I have a twin sister. I thought you knew that.
I was unaware of that.
Oh.
Yeah, she works in a shipping department. Yeah, does a great job.
Today I learned. Well, that's awesome. All right, so here we go. We're going to leave Satisfactory and on to a little game called Factorio. So basically, the premise is this: that's you, and you have crash landed your ship on an alien planet, and you build these different steam power things to generate power. And we zoom out a little bit more. That makes pollution, which unfortunately for the local population, they don't care for. So you need to build turrets, which are going to require more power, which generate more pollution, and you see where this is going.
The more pollution, the more you're going to get attacked.
Exactly. Yes. So basically, the only power source that you have available on the planet is coal, and since coal's not really great for pollution, that makes the native population just basically go into a frenzy and attack you. So Now, as far as I know, there aren't any giant bugs with a hatred for fossil fuels and a willingness to storm your factory in St. Louis, Missouri. Now, this is 2020, so who knows? Maybe. But there are a couple of parallels. So I know, and this goes back to what we were showing earlier. Now, let's see. I know St. Louis is an older city. I mean, I'm a former St. Louis resident, born and raised myself. Everything in general is closer together. Now, you were talking before the show. I don't think anyone can see my pointer right now. Oh, you can. Okay, great. You were explaining earlier that everything from these railroad tracks, so this building over here just barely off screen, all the way down. Oh, went a little too far. There we go. Nope, this one. There we go. All the way down to this street right here. That's all yours. You can't see that right now. Hold on.
Yeah, right to the right there.
Yeah.
The intersection, the big intersection.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everything that's just south of that street, all the way down to the dead end, and on that corner across the street, and where that burnt out building was, they unfortunately had 100,000 citronella candles in there that exploded and burned that place down.
Oh no!
How do you did you learn anything? Like, was there like an investigation as to were they not storing it properly? Were they storing too much?
Yeah, they had a dry fire extinguisher system, which means that it's not full of water. So when the little plastic thing melts and water sprays out of it, they didn't have that.
Ooh.
They had to have somebody, I forget how that worked, initiate the pump to spray the water. And basically got out of hand before they could even start it.
Wow.
Oh, that's not a good fire suppression system.
The king in the chat asks,
you want a wet. You definitely want a wet fire system.
Absolutely. I got fire extinguisher story in just a second, but Akeem says, are there no mosquitoes left in St. Louis? God, I wish that were true. I wish that were true.
Well, we just recently bought a company in March up in Seattle, which was, I couldn't go there to investigate, obviously, because of the coronavirus up there.
Yeah.
But we've had all that equipment moved in, and we have 2 mosquito traps, different types that we are now selling.
Oh, okay.
And apparently they work pretty good from what one of the owners say. I've used it. I have not. I have a different unit out here that I bought before they came up with this. So, yeah, there are a lot of mosquitoes out here still.
Yeah.
Pretty much all you got to do, though, right, is like send some of that and test it in Florida. Because if it works in Florida, then you're good.
Right.
Well, so just to give you a little bit of background as to why it's that way, let me go out just a little bit more. This right here is the Mississippi. Where's my pointer at? I know it's in here somewhere.
Yep.
There we go.
It doesn't show on stream.
Oh, okay.
But
and then up there, up north, that's the Missouri River. So we're at the delta between 2 massive flipping rivers. So yeah, we got standing water. If you want standing water, we've got it.
Yeah.
We've got that in stock. So yeah, like I was saying, there's not insects that are constantly attacking you, but since everything is so close together, how much did you have to take that into consideration when you were setting up the factory originally?
So the factory was put in this location back in 1947, I believe.
Oh my!
And the Willert family took it over from a tobacco company, Liggett and Platt. And you can see right here on the map, there's a big right there in the middle where that white building is. Looks like there's a pointer right there.
Oh yeah, in the middle on where the smokestack.
Right there.
Yeah, with the smokestack.
That building right in the middle there. That's a huge smokestack. It has to go up 200 feet or more. That was the smokestack because inside that building there were 8 huge steam generators. So the tobacco company kind of went out of business. Somehow the Willert family bought a portion of that, and then they just kept buying extensions to the building to add production.
Wow. So as soon as a neighbor next door would go out of business, they'd just buy that property and then buy the next, buy the next.
Right.
Yeah.
So now we pretty much own the whole block.
And if anyone's ever in St. Louis, right here at Lafayette Square, Park Avenue Coffee, I think is what it's called. Best gooey butter cake on the planet. It's delicious. That's the one thing I miss about St. Louis is the food. But we were talking about fire extinguishers earlier. I worked at a data center that still had the old halon. They had the halon stuff, and as they told me my first day there, they said if that ever goes off, get out now. Leave your tools, leave everything. If you've got a server in your hands, I don't care, drop it. Because when that thing goes off, the doors are going to lock very soon, and you are going to run out of air in here. So get the hell out. They asked, someone in the chat asked if you use the smokestack for anything. Do you still, does it still have a purpose?
So our whole building comes under the St. Louis Historical Act. And we're not allowed to even tear it down. You wonder that it's so tall. There's two of them side by side. A tornado came through, it would definitely topple it. No doubt about it. But because it's part of the historical society, we can't do anything with it because the that group that controls that doesn't want anything done.
Wow.
And even if buildings like in North St. Louis are dilapidated and on the verge of collapsing, if it's a historical building, they will not allow it to be demolished.
Yeah.
So nature just has to take its course with it or something?
Yep. And just don't walk by the building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think safety would have been primary, but it's historical. Got to keep it.
Well,
it's going to fall down.
I can understand the argument if it's something that you still could resurrect. And a lot of times with those brick houses, even if the floors are out, sometimes you can bring them back to life. It's a lot different than a stick frame, construction house built in the 60s or something like that.
Right.
So, the house that I lived in actually in St. Louis was built in 1896. So, yeah. I had a friend who lived in a historical society preserved house in New York. They wouldn't let him run electric to half the rooms in his house. Ugh. Yeah, that's a little far. That's a bit much. But yeah. So
that's a bit much.
Yeah, just a little bit. So the factory was put in there you said in the 40s?
I believe so.
Right. Okay. So it was already there when you got it, but as you grew out, did you take into account so I mean, I guess that is one area where you did have to take into account the will of the surrounding area, in the fact that they wouldn't let you tear down the smokestack. But has that affected other decisions that you guys have made over the expansion of the company?
So we had thought about, we have a factory in Canova, West Virginia, right there on the Ohio River, where Kentucky, Ohio, and West Virginia meet. And it does a naphthalene mothball, which is more pungent of an odor than the pear that we do in St. Louis.
Right.
And we thought about moving it here and putting it in that building that's right there on the corner of Park and 39. But there's too much concern from the hospital, SLU, St. Louis University Hospital, that the fumes would affect patients. So we had to abandon that move, and now it's still kept in Canova, West Virginia.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So we don't have to worry there because they're right next to a oil refinery plant. So we don't, our smell kind of gets masked by theirs.
Yeah. No one's going to notice there. Did you want to say something, Zen?
I was just I was just interested in how, I don't know how to really, you had to get permission, I guess, for that. I guess because it is chemical based, do you need to notify so many different entities first and then they went out and notified? Or was that something your team was I guess let's just ask the neighbors, like an HOA having you I would have to ask my neighbors if I want to raise my wall because I don't want them looking into my backyard.
Right. So in government, they want to know exactly what you're producing inside of the building. Not like in Henderson where you're doing ammonium perchlorate or something like that. So there's permits involved. It's an EPA regulated product, so the EPA is involved. Notice has to go out. So yeah, there was enough notice to all the surrounding areas to where it was just not. We'd have more problems with lawyers and whatever if we moved it than we wanted. So kept it in West Virginia.
So I don't know if this is exactly where you were going with this or not, Zen, but how did SLU find out about that in the first place? I get how the government found out, but how did SLU find out?
Well, you have to publish notice. when you're, bringing in new chemicals or anything of that nature. And so it's just a public notice. And the Willards, they owned a lot of the property next to SLU. So being a good neighbor, Bill Willert, the owner, has contacts at SLU.
Sure.
And he just said, I'm thinking about doing this. And they're like, no, please, no.
Okay. So that makes more sense because I'm thinking from like my perspective, and I've worked with tons of companies because I work IT, I'm a network administrator, and so I just learn about so many different companies, and what I've learned the most is that humans are insanely lazy. And I would had assumed that if a notice went out, like, who's going to check that? Who cares? Like, if I got that piece of mail, I mean, you're going to have to send it to me 3 times before I even consider taking a letter opener to it.
Right, but companies like Willert, like SLU, like most other companies, they have a regulatory person on site, or they hire somebody to watch over, the neighborhood, whatever that might be going on. So, yeah, it's not like you can do this under a cloak.
Right. It looks like we have a very big fan of builder games in the chat. Well, then you're just loving this one, I'll bet, because these are the 2 big ones right now. Yeah, that's just to recap the episode. We're talking right now with Philip, who's the VP of Manufacturing for Willert Home Products. Didn't even have to look that one up that time. He can be taught. And we're comparing real life manufacturing to video game manufacturing. And so, you can't really talk about video game manufacturing without Factorio and Satisfactory. I mean, you can't. It can't be done. So, yeah. Well, that's that. I'll bet you're really glad that you're not on a planet where there's bugs. Like, I guess you probably look at the lawyers from SLU the same way as those bugs right there.
Yeah, probably. But building on a distant planet, there's a whole lot of logistics that go along with that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, all the machinery that you have to build to make the machinery.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and well, I mean, for that matter, finding someone who's willing to not only go but know that they're probably not going to come back.
Right. And will they have enough food? Will they be able to take their favorite burger?
Oh well,
nope.
Probably no, probably not.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, one thing that is a decent comparison with Factorio is that your character is a disruptive change to the local population's world. Now, when I say disruptive, I mean that things were this way before, now they're another way. Regardless, taking morality completely out of it, just regardless of right or wrong, they're just different now, is what I mean when I say disruptive. But was there a similar effect on... Now, I know that you guys purchased the building from a cigarette manufacturer. You said that earlier. And
tobacco, yeah.
From a tobacco company, right. And was there a similar effect on the industry at large when you guys, started? Well, I guess the marker for you would be back in the 90s or so. That was when you joined the company, right? And you kind of merged.
Well, yeah. My father had started a company up in San Francisco. We ended up moving that to Las Vegas, but in doing so, looking for the proper land to where we could put the building with the space that we needed, and room for expansion. It just so happens that we picked property that was next to the old Pepcon factory, which blew up May 4th, 1988.
Yes, it did.
And that was basically the cleanest site in Nevada.
Yeah.
Because I had conversations with the EPA, and they went through that with little kitchen sifters to sift out everything. But yeah, you look at location. You're close to freeways. Then of course taxes. What is that? What's the infrastructure like?
Yeah.
A lot of different factors. So we ended up selling the business in '99 to Willert. And operated the company for another 10 years. Had to shut it down in 2008, but they moved a lot of the equipment back to St. Louis. So when I moved back here, basically I'm using the same equipment in one part of the factory.
Oh, is that right?
That makes the blue tablets.
That's got to be kind of a trip. Like, you.
It is.
Yeah. Like, oh, I remember working on this a long time ago. That's
when the mechanics say, this doesn't work this way. I go, yeah, I've been working on this for 20 years. I know exactly how this is supposed to work. So you can't blow, work my way.
Can't be blowing smoke anywhere.
I always thought it was fascinating. Like I never worked with any of the equipment because I was just a child when I would roam the factory.
Mm-hmm.
But when I eventually went to St. Louis and toured the factory there, which was only a handful of years ago, it was weird seeing big pieces of machinery I remember from my childhood, and those are the exact same ones. And then I just think to myself, like, how do you move that? Like, that's a nightmare.
Oh, well,
That's
not for whom the bell tolls.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what is oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, so that's the history of that part of the company and how I got to work back in St. Louis again.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm a native, like you are, and so I never thought when we left here in 1968 that I would be back.
Mm-hmm.
But here I am.
Yeah. That's one thing I make as a general rule for me. I never say I'm never going to do a thing, because that's the first way that thing is going to happen. Like, right. I never say like, oh, I'm never going to move back to St. Louis. I never say that, because I have no intention to, because I sure do not like mosquitoes and I do not like winter.
Yeah.
And I'll take 120 here over 95 there any day of the week.
Oh, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. So, well, you know what? Do we have time? Yeah. Well, let's go on to our third game here. This might be a little faster here. The last game that we have now. Our builder friend here, Jetman. I'm not sure, but he's probably going to say, wait, why in the world is this there? And why did you cover up your screen name? Because I covered up my screen name. But in the game Borderlands, you are basically a character. We're just going to do the super simple definition, so don't at me. But you're a person that shoots a lot of other people and monsters in various things. Those peoples and monsters and various things will occasionally drop weapons, and that weapon may or may not be better than another one that you have. So you do basically a cost-benefit analysis on each one. Something to the effect of, this one does more damage, that one fires faster, kind of stuff, basically, right? Sometimes you do this in the middle of a gunfight, which is always interesting. Now, if you see there, I'm scrolling through my character's stuff, and I'm basically, what I'm showing there is, if you take your standard issue assault rifle, right? What about does that weigh? Like probably 15, 20 pounds?
Yeah. Well, yeah, 15 to 20. Sure.
15 to 20 pounds? Okay. So you can see there that I'm carrying, let's see, it looks like 31 different things. Those are smaller things for like the shield and stuff, but that shotgun's almost as big as she is, and she's carrying about 30 of those things. So obviously you can't carry that for real. So in the game, they've kind of written their way out of this, right? They call it Digistruct technology. And so basically when you want a particular gun, your little handheld computer that you have pulls up the file and it digitally constructs it instantly. Okay. In fact, and this is one of the reasons why I showed this particular weapon. This is one of the manufacturers is called TDR, and they're basically the Walmart of guns in the game universe. And the guns, you don't reload them, you throw it away, and a new one digistructs in your hands. You can see here the sparkles come up, and there's a new one, poof, in your hand automatically. So, of course, in the real world, digistructing isn't a thing, of course. Now, everybody in the show knows about the use of 3D printing for prototyping. Now, you recently, we did a couple of parts for you a while ago, right? Or like a couple of test prototype parts? Yeah. And now we did those. What's that?
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, we made the little acrylic star wheels.
Yeah. Have you used any kind of like 3D printing to do stuff like that, like to do prototyping for your machines?
Yeah, one of the owners is pretty good at using Rhino to construct 3D holders that hold suction cups.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a need to where the manufacturer only gave us 3, but we found that 4 would work better. So he worked through that, with the dimensions that we had. I
Mhm.
made a 4-cup pickup, used it on the robots, and it works great. So we do have 3D printers that work,
Oh,
and
is that
that's one
right?
of the things that I'm trying to learn Rhino.
Interesting. Yeah. So why Rhino specifically instead of like Fusion 360 or any of the other ones?
Well, that came from the owner who is an Apple person, and he accidentally bought a Windows version of Rhino and said, "Well, I can't use it, so here you go, Philip.
We're using this now.
Yeah, we're using this now."
Oh, okay.
So that's why.
Ah, gotcha. So in an episode, probably I want to say like 3 or 4 episodes ago, we did talk with a guy that makes spin tops, right? They're like larger versions of the tops that you'd play with as a kid, not necessarily like finger tops, not the
Right.
everyday carry ones that they have now, but they're really large ones, and you use them to do tricks, and it's kind of the same crowd as like the yo-yo people, the people that do yo-yo tricks. But at any rate, he is making spin tops on his 3D printer, and those are actually for sale to the end user. And what I wanted to ask you is that does work fine on the small scale. But what do you think it would take to make 3D printing a viable form of producing the end products?
It's very viable. As a matter of fact, a few years ago, I was at the National Association of Broadcasters convention in Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the 3D companies 3D printed one of the capsules that went to Mars in full scale.
Oh, wow.
So it probably stood 3.5 feet high and a good 3 to 4 feet in diameter, and it was just a regular capsule, and they 3D printed that whole thing. So and we have one of the owners showed me that they were 3D printing bridges out of steel. They have a 3D printer that welds steel, and they'll make you a bridge across a river.
Whoa.
So
Okay,
I thought that was pretty.
Yeah, I've got some Googling to do on that one. I need to see that.
Yeah.
So it basically it's welding to, like, it starts out with one little glob of metal, I'm assuming, and just keeps welding onto that.
Right. Yeah.
And
I was totally amazed.
See, what I thought
yeah.
you were talking about was the stuff where they sinter it, where it's got like little metal particles in filament, and it squirts it out into a thing, and then you bake it in a special oven, and then you have a metal part. But what you're talking about is you're just creating metal. You're just welding.
Right. Well, the bridge. But the other factors, the gears are made that way.
Mm-hmm.
My technical supervisor has a bot 3D printer, and so if we need a small part, then he'll 3D print like a small gear, maybe size of a quarter or maybe a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
He can 3D print that, and we don't have to wait.
So that kind of goes into a question that we had in chat with, and Akeen said, do you still use the 3D printed part in production, or did you just use that prototype and then get the final product, that is more durable? So that was for the other kind of question with the suction cups, but you're saying that you do actually 3D print like gears and stuff, and like those gears, like do you put those in production machines? Yeah, because if it's just a plastic gear, it might just be doing a small rotation, and so there's not a lot of force on it. So I forget, there's lots of different types of filament that you can use for 3D printing. Yeah, and some of them are very strong, so they will work in our application.
Wow. Yeah, and also from a total home gamer machinist, like I just play around with it a little bit occasionally. But I can tell you that hobbing gears ain't no joke. Hobbing gear, like making it, actually machining a gear is just a freaking mind melter. I mean, it's a process that you have to learn, and it's extremely complicated. But I'm sure, like, people that do it every day, piece of cake. But
so these would be old rod end gears, nothing like a worm gear.
Right.
Those take quite a bit of time, and we have a local company called Southside Machine, and they do fabulous work. They're so meticulous. Their machinists are absolutely perfect.
Yep.
The biggest gear that they can make is, I think, 34 feet in diameter.
That's crazy.
So imagine setting that up and getting that within spec.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I think if you go to southside.com, you can look at their website and see some of the things that they do. They were actually one of my last tours with somebody local.
Yeah.
With the owner, they were making a certain type of a beam for the new Allegiant Stadium here in St. Louis to ship back to Vegas.
Yeah. Oh, that's that's wild. You made, when you mentioned Southside Machinery, that made me remember Shapiro's Salvage up north on, was it Hall Street? I think it is Hall's Ferry. Man, that place is amazing. Like, it is the only place where you can go and get metal stock or a cryogenic chamber. Like, he just has the most random selection of stuff I've ever seen. Been in the family over 100 years. Like, when you go to pay him, it's Sam Shapiro, and he's smoking a cigarette holding a handful of 20s. I swear to God. Like the business has been done in that building in that exact fashion for 100 years. It's amazing. I love that place. So, okay, super last question here. I got like 5 minutes left. I think we might be able to get through it here. So here's the thing, and this was interesting. In the last 30 years, for the very first time, we saw music purchasing shift from a physical medium, right? So however many copies of the White Album you have, to almost entirely digital, right? So far, that's the only case in which that's happened. But let's say that you made a product like a doorstop or something like that, or your, if you made refills for the toilet bowl hanger, but you print your own 3D, you print your own hanger, right? What would it take, do you think, what would have to happen in the marketplace in general to move you towards selling a physical item digitally, to where you just download a file from your website and the end user makes it?
Well, that would be based a lot on customer demand. You know, are you going to get your return on investment for that? How many parts do you need? Do you need to set up, a dozen different machines, and how fast can they work? So that has not become a possibility yet for anything that we're doing.
Yeah.
But I can see where in some applications it actually could. Yeah.
Or like to where the end user makes it themselves on their own machine at home.
Oh.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, to where you just sell it on a website and you just sell the file and they make it themselves.
Yeah, and there is a software company that's out there that I subscribe to. Forget if it's called eCAD or something, to where they have digital files you can upload on a subscription basis, I believe, and just print it out. You don't even have to do the design and drawing. Just download it to your printer, and away you go.
That'd be interesting. And I mean, I would imagine, like, to get like a type of business started like that, you would also sell possibly the printer as like a starter, and like send that to them, and you might send it with a USB that contains the files that you already know that you're going to be wanting to print, and then they set it up. I know several businesses kind of like that. Like, a friend made a company called like Bound to Brew, and he, from what I understand, the company, it's a subscription box company that it's for like coffees and books. So every month you'll get a different type of coffee and you'll get a different book. But the Origin kit, you get like a French press with it. So it teaches you how to like do French pressing coffee. That's my understanding. I might be wrong. I should have looked more into it if I was going to announce what his stuff was, but still a very interesting idea. And so that's kind of like what I would attribute to if you sold a file, for like a tidy bowl or a blue, whatever cleaner. You sell the frame file, and you just you ship them the reloads, every month.
Yeah, or it could be.
I'll look for that company and send it to you.
Oh yeah, totally.
It could be, like the old we'll give you the razor and sell you the blades sort of situation. We'll give you the file for the hanger, and now that you have the hanger, you need to have our products. You need to buy our refills.
Same way with the printers. They'll give the printer away. Hewlett Packard, $30 for a printer, and refills are $90 a piece.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah. Well, anybody have any final thoughts before we bring this thing into the station?
Not me.
No, good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate that. And we also really appreciate you at home for checking us out here. Now, if you're watching us on YouTube, that's the end of the show. We'll see you later. Go to synshop.org for more information on the shop, and meetup.com/synshop for information on live events just like this one. And but if you are on Twitch, stay right where you are. We're going to take a quick break, grab some drinks, grab some new people. We got Thomas Tusano. He's going to be coming in, and we're going to switch things around a little bit, and then we'll be right back. Like I said, about 5-10 minutes. So, Philip, once again, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
It was fun. Enjoyed it. Thanks a lot. See you all later.
Excellent. And until next time, I am, of course, the Mighty Pong.
And I'm Zenify.
And I lost you. There we go. Anyway, we'll fix that. We'll be right back. Yeah. Hi, I'm the Mighty Pong, host of the show that you just got done watching. Hey, if you'd like to see the entire show and not just the first hour, make sure that you watch on twitch.tv/Synshop every Friday night for the main show. And on Monday nights, we have our special project night. So you can join us, build something, and basically throw stuff at us while we try to concentrate on things. It's a lot of fun. Kind of. But hey, anyway, we hope to see you there. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, so join us over there, twitch.tv/Synshop. I am, of course, the Mighty Pong, and we will see you there. One take. Not one.